Good evening, everyone. What a wonderful session we had. We've been talking about AI since morning, and in a different contexts, from personalization to the various ways of how it's really benefiting marketers. I'm going to spin or give a different context how we're using AI in the measurement area. I think what's really happening is today, if you talk to the marketers, there's no dearth of data anymore. I think we have a plenty of data. I think the challenge that really comes up is all about, despite having that plenty of data, we still are not able to make those quick decisions as we should do, and as AI should enable us to do that thing. I think a lot of marketers, when they use AI, they still talk about it being a black box. So today, I want to believe in AI, but I want to believe in AI as long as it explains why it is suggesting something that is suggesting. If it's a black box, I tend to sort of not trust the model entirely. And the last is about the very real limited time, the opportunities of the insights really enabling your decisions. So still there is a time that you still take to sort of mine the data and come to a decision. I mean, there's a lot of gap in the time happens, and therefore the insights have a shelf life. If I give you a shelf life or insight after the shelf life is over, the relevance is far more less. Wow. I think that's where we thought, how do we really in a way transform this whole thing? And every marketer sitting out here would have sort of some time, or most of the time use the word called marketing mix modeling, marketing analytics. How do I really make sure that I'm able to bring the marketing analytics at the center of my decision making? That's been a conversation that's been happening. I thought, let's do that thing. Let's bring the AI there. Let's bring the old LLMs out there. And most importantly, every business is different. So why the analytics to be same? And the analytics to be as agile and as adaptive to the business as the business demands are and needs are. And therefore, when we look at the AI-powered or a GPT-enabled sort of outcomes or the solutions, that's where we're seeing the massive deltas are happening. Small deltas are happening at a month-on-month level, but because the insights are real-time, the insights are sort of now and here, that cumulative delta over a period of 3 months, 6 months, 12 months is massive. And that's where we thought, why not introduce a so-called GPT. So we have a module called a Cube GPT, which is sitting at the top of all the analytical models or the modules that you would have thought about, worked in the past, equity models, mixed models, marketing models. It's sitting at the top of it. So it has both the dimension. It has a multi-scenario dimension versus a portfolio dimension. Give you an example. I was working for a D2C client who's also into a CPG and to a D2C. The whole dimensionality is all about, I have 4 sales channels. I have a retail, I have a quick commerce, I have a D2C, and I have an e-commerce. And I spend a lot of money on my various brands and the various channels. So how do I bring all together that while quick commerce could be 5% or 3%, but growing at a plus 40, retail could be 70, but growing at a plus 1. So how do I make sure my portfolio is managed to make sure I'm able to give the right amount of money to each channel and to each sales channel and the media channel to make sure that it drives value to us? And this is where we have seen a very good growth. Because of GPT, the work gets done in almost 1/6, 1/5 of the time. So you have a real-time insights available for you to plug it in back to your decision-making, back to your own business planning modules, or the way you sort of whatever you use to do your decisioning, and enable that and enable the entire marketing team, your agency partners to use that. Another critical thing when it comes to analytics, I think, is all about how many of us have really democratized the use of analytics across the organization. A lot of companies, if you go, it still sort of sits in somewhat silos. One team uses it, passes it on to the teams. But the true meaning of a democratization is all about, have you give me a what next, what if? And if I start giving that to the CXOs, to the CEO, to our CMOs, to the brand teams, the category heads, to every partner, imagine the power of this in your hands, where you're able to take those what if, what next every time. You're able to sort of look for the market conditions, how changing in the categories that are influenced by the market forces a lot, what needs to be done. So I think those things GPT really empowers a lot. I'll play a small video just to...
Where marketing decisions can make or break growth. Just having data is no longer enough. You need prescriptive analytics. Businesses are looking at turning analytics complexity into clarity, data into direction, and decisions into growth. To address this, we are launching the new era of marketing intelligence. Introducing Scube GPT, the first gen AI-powered prescriptive marketing analytics engine. Not just telling you what happened or what could happen, but showing you exactly how to make growth happen. Measuring media and marketing effectiveness across portfolio and platforms. To optimizing every marketing dollar for business and profit growth. Smarter decisions. Faster growth. Redefining marketing analytics for the future.
And the last, I think is quickly about, this allows us to measure, takes into account the 100% of the data that you actually collect from your first parties to your camping data, to your CDPs, to your category data, so that you have that intelligence that you are finally giving it out. It sort of has looked into every direction that business wants to look at. To say, what you should be doing in order to drive, better growth for the business. It's much faster. I'm saying faster as in that, if you talk to any of the, CMO or the marketing fraternity, marketing people, they talk about, usually these things are very good, but they take very long. And then when the results comes, sort of not of great use. So how do you really make it real time? And of course, the kind of an ROI boost it gives it to us, which is what you see, the delta margin or the margins that you get at the back of having these AI applications or the solutions delivered through the GPT adds value to the business. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Sandeep. I request you to please wait back as we have you as part of our panel 2 coming up. Last couple of panels for the day remaining. This one is on AI Growthstack. You can get the chairs. High impact marketing tools that deliver more for less. The last session was about leading people. This one is about leveraging machines using AI, not just as a buzzword, but as a growth multiplier that helps marketers to do more with less. Please welcome our moderator, Amya Swaroop, Partner Marketing Advisory Services at Ernst & Young LLP. And our speakers, Prasanna N, Head AI and Digital at Federal Bank, and Shagufta Disa, Head Strategic Partnerships, Verix, and Co-Chair AI Kiran. May I request Sandeep also to kindly take a seat.
Great. Good to sound like one of the last few panels for the day. I think it should be exciting for the audience, whoever has decided to stay back for a session. So, interesting topic. I think it's very close to my heart. High impact marketing tools that deliver more for less. Something which every organization is really trying to figure out today. In the maze that a CMO is really floating across, the tons of data, tons of tools, tons of processes. Today, as marketing budget, tightens, and expectation rises up, AI is literally reshaping how brands achieve more with less, driving smarter growth, higher ROI, and faster execution. 79% of Indian marketers are already experimenting implementation of AI in their workflows. About 78% marketers also are confident about the AI tool, and that's a good indication, with about 68% of them having defined an AI strategy today. To our panel topic, I would pose this question to all three of you. How have you seen, in terms of how AI has shifted the definition of marketing efficiency? And I'll start with you, Prasanna.
Sure. Thanks firstly for inviting a poor banker in the mix. I feel kind of fish out of water, being in the midst of all marketing legends here. I have nothing to do with marketing. I'm just a pure tech guy. I help marketing guys, roll out a lot of Gen AI solutions. To your question, Maya, I think there's a lot that's happening, on the Gen AI front. Not just with marketing, but across the spectrum. I come from the banking space, so the kind of use cases that we are looking at, especially in marketing when it comes to content creation, digital marketing, focused sort of no more segmentation, but individualized marketing. These are some of the areas that that we see a lot of traction when it comes to Gen AI.
Shagufta.
I feel that AI has flipped efficiency on its head, when it comes to marketing. Also, what I see generally is that, the traditional marketing, right, a lot of the decision makers, like I told you earlier, are still from that world where decisions were made in the traditional way. And now they have to work with Gen Z that's executing these campaigns, but are, very, very heavily invested in digital. So how do you balance that out? And I'm surprised at how many times I've spoken to CMOs or CEOs and I've asked them simple things like, how does your brand feature in an LLM search? And they have no idea. And it is shocking because 80% of the searches now, product discoveries are happening on LLM. And it is shocking that the decision makers of the C-suite is not worried about this. They are worried about, clicks and, the traditional way of getting leads, but they're not worried about where the conversation is actually happening. So we are moving from a phase of clicks to recommendations. Right. And the customer trusts the recommendations more than just what they see.
Right. That's very interesting in terms of, what we're seeing out there in terms of the belief of how to take AI forward. I think AI has just came into the picture to connect the traditional with the Gen Zs, and I feel very strongly about it, honestly. Sandeep, your point of view.
I think a quick point of view, I think the metrics has changed, the success metric has changed. I think the AI has pushed the marketers to start looking at outcome as a metric over an output as a metric. And they're very focused about the ROIs, the growth, and not about the sort of software measures or the brand measures itself. They're very clear about whether whatever you're doing is that driving value for the business or not. I think that's a clear shift I'm seeing, and more marketers I meet, more and more companies I meet, I find this something which is common across all CXOs and all CMOs.
Very interesting. In fact, Shagufta, I'll come back to you in terms of during your experience. Give us one practical example where you've seen or implemented how AI has really reduced cost or improved creativity or performance or any other domain, where you've seen that asking very basic questions and they don't have a clue. So I'm sure, the first implementation, at least the delta would be huge to demonstrate. What has your experience been?
Yeah. So I'll talk about a couple of examples. One is, Verix has this recognition engine that we use. That all of the speakers today for Smarties also must have received a badge which they can share on LinkedIn. It's very quick to share, very easy to share. Everything is customized by AI to the speaker or to the individual that's posting. What I saw is when we activated a campaign with PepsiCo, it was a very low-cost campaign, and PepsiCo wanted to be able to create organic impressions or marketing for one of their internal campaigns that they were doing, which was called Revolutionary, where they were training about 45,000 people over a period of 2 years. And what they came with the problem statement saying that how do we make high impact at low cost, and that's when Verix came into play, and we activated the Verix the entire set for them, where we gave them certificates for everybody who completed the training. And the kind of organic share that it saw, their brand index moved by 10 points. And the CMO jokingly told me that I would have had to hire like Shah Rukh Khan to be able to do this in a month. So there are tools that exist. I would suggest that all of you keep your eyes and ears open, look out for tools that exist that can break the traditional model and do better than what you think they can do. And the other thing we are doing with Optimized GEO, that's another tool that we've just started working on, is we are working with a lot of organizations, mostly traditional organizations or SaaS organizations that I've worked with so far. We see that they do not worry about their brand featuring on LLM search, but they should worry because people in the metros, people in the tier 2 cities even, and overall about 40% people in the world are moving to LLMs to discover products and get the recommendation on products. So if you are not there, I mean, the last decade was spent on, maximizing Google, analytics or just seeing how to do the traditional SEO search. Now, I think it should shift to LLM search and LLM optimization. And how you do it is, there are lots of tools. Optimize Geo is one of them. Speak to people like me, speak to people like people who are doing this, like Sandeep, etc., and find out what's there, because there are a lot of low-cost tools available at very, 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 if in a very effective way, you'll be able to, power your campaigns.
So, I completely understand where you're coming from, and Prasanna, probably you face this, and I would love to understand an example from your side. There are plethora of tools, right? How do you select the right one which makes sense? How do you invest just the right amount, right, to see that it's working, connecting multiple silos which are there, and this is the tool that your organization needs?
Sure. We come from a completely highly regulated sort of an entity, right? And there are several, sort of tools that are floating around the market. What works best in terms of security, what works best in terms of, cost. There's a whole, host of things that we do to discover, what is best for us. From a marketing standpoint, with GenAI coming in and with, multiple sort of siloed data that we have as a bank, one of our fundamental, work that we do is to get our customer data platform, straight. Right, that is that's the crux of all the work that we're doing. Without doing that, getting an AI to do work on garbage data is not going to really help much. So I think we are spending a lot of time and effort in getting the data right, which is again, being a bank, you have legacy data sitting in multiple applications, some on cloud, some on your data centers. You have no idea where they are sitting. How do I get the data to work for you? Whether it's an existing to the bank or a new to the bank customer, how do I enrich the data with the right amount of quality with the tool sets that are there available today with GenAI coming in? I think that's the focus area for us, at least as banks.
Tell me more in terms of, maybe you could pick up one or two examples where you've implemented the tool and seen the the light of day at the end of the tunnel, which has really worked well for you.
So we are still doing a lot of POC and soul searching when it comes to GenAI. Like Sandeep mentioned, right? It's still a kind of a black box. Not for me. I'm a tech guy, but to most of my businesses, it's still a tech. It's still a black box. But what we are trying to use is, I can't get into names, but we do use quite a bit of LLMs or SLMs today, mostly within my firewalled premises. And we're trying to, do individualized, marketing, based on seasons, based on geography. How can I pinpoint a particular geography and a particular season to, drive particular campaigns instead of just, bombarding people with, nonsense that most of us don't even look at? How do I do a targeted, sort of a campaign? I think that's where, GenAI, with the information that we're getting from Facebook ads, your Google searches, your, Google ads, everything, right? So I think the intelligence coming from there, is also translating into, creatives, becoming easier for us to make targeted creatives that are there. Those are the, kind of areas that we're looking at right now.
Makes sense. And from an established brand, Sandeep, let me come to you. You work with a lot of startups and fintechs, right? How do you see those brands evolve? Do they have a head start, on implementing a lot of these tech, which can then eventually scale? Give a few examples.
I have two examples, one for fintech, one for a CPG. I think the more legacy brand you have, the more challenges you have.
Yeah.
Startup you have, it's easier for you to go full funnel.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example of legacy brands because larger brands, data is in silos. Like Prasanna said, you don't even have a data foundation as such there. So the first attempt is to make sure that you get the data comes together for you to build any model on top of it to start suggesting what the business should be doing or should not be doing in order to gain advantage from there. Come to a CPG, which is startup, but growing very well. Now I think that the challenges are different, and I was briefly touched upon in my talk a little while back, is that there are 4 or 5 sales channels I have, and I want to understand on a somewhat real-time basis to tell me where the next dollar should go. I don't want me to sit back and enjoy and saying, hey, after a quarter, tell me what has happened.
Correct.
I want to be able to do that on a real-time basis. Because now I have a data platform ready. You bring your different models to say what is working where. And by the way I'm optimizing my media mix, my entire marketing mix, what kind of a growth I could expect on these channels.
Right.
And they also looking at a very short term and a long term. A short term is that, of course, I have to do my this quarter numbers. But the long term is that because the growth trajectory of the different sales channels is very different. I don't want to, grow only in a channel which is today 80% but growing at a ±1. I want to be very relevant and gain share small, which is growing at a 50% plus. So that over a period of time, I should be able to have a good share across channels and stay relevant with my audiences, with my consumers, wherever they shop. That's, I think, 2 examples I would say. Yeah.
Makes sense. And I'll come to all 3 of you. For your clients, for both of you, and for your own brand, Prasanna, while you're talking about outcome-led AI interventions, where does customer experience sit today? Who owns it? Is there an owner? And I'll start with you, Prasanna.
It's a super tough question. I mean, you put me on the spot. I don't know why a banker always gets chosen for all these questions, but it's a combination of leadership, AI in some form, and of course the marketing team should own it. Ideally, I don't want the AI to own it. I really want the human beings to own the narrative. But yeah, I mean, we're still seeing this whole thing play out, and it's evolving at the rate of knots as we speak. The whole technology. I have no idea what's coming up. What's coming up? In the next couple of days, right? So it's a really tough question to give a straight answer to.
And we were talking about a very interesting approach where traditional brands are really looking at digital-first brands, to see how they have evolved, so far ahead. So, we don't really need to experiment, and we have, certain use cases which we can talk about. It'll be great if you talk about that.
As a bank, I don't really benchmark myself only with other banks or peer banks, etc., in the country or elsewhere. I also look at, something like a Swiggy or a Zomato or an Amazon. How do I get that customer, experience to my customers who are now spoiled for choice, right? Whether I compare myself or not, they're already doing that, right? They're also already looking at, this usability of this app is not so great. How do I really get to a human agent? We're talking about, voice agents and, all sorts of things. How do I proactively get one up over a customer complaint? How do I proactively solve before they even reach out to me? I think that's some of the areas that we really are benchmarking ourselves against, and we're going through this whole transformation in terms of tech landscape where we enable such platforms to engage better with the customers and and ensure that customer experience is premium.
No, absolutely. In fact, when you spoke about online refund, that was music to my ears.
Yeah.
Honestly, that a chatbot is able to give the refund back. And Jagupta, you talked about some crazy numbers of people waiting online to talk to an agent.
So I was reading that about 15 billion hours Indians spent last year waiting on the line for the customer service agent to come online. So 15 billion hours where they're hearing the music. So you can imagine how annoying that is and how AI solves that. How AI, uses a chatbot or a customer service bot to kind of, or agentic AI as you may call it, to solve that problem. And, shifting and thinking about the customer and the frustration the customer goes through, especially with, banks and on calls with banks, not picking you out, Prasanna, but just, it's so frustrating that I would rather visit a bank than, go through that whole thing of waiting for 15 minutes, whether it's a telco, whether it's a bank. It's just thinking about the customer and thinking about how to solve it for the customer. So when you ask me who owns the customer success, I think definitely the technology team. I'm kidding, but it's a joint effort. It has to start from the top. It has to it's not just about acquiring revenue, right? It's also about keeping the customers that are already with you. How do you keep them happy? How do you keep them satisfied? Because it's so easy to switch nowadays. You can open an account online in 7 minutes, or you can port with a message, etc. How do you make it? So it's like a joint thing, it's not just marketing's responsibility or not just operations who's going to take, look after the customer's needs. It's a joint responsibility.
Great. With those ting-tings, let's wrap up the session before they throw us out. I'll start with you, Sandeep. I really like the aspect where you spoke about the short-term and the long-term growth trajectory, and I'll come to each one of you. What are the immediate or let's say low-hanging fruit that a brand today should really adopt when it comes to AI? And what do you see as the next critical intervention from the AI perspective for a marketer in maybe 3 months, 6 months, which will probably be at inflection point? I'll start with you, Sandeep.
I think I'll answer the second question first. I think what's coming up is that I think the way Gen AI is playing up. You'll have a room in the next 6 months' time. People looking at the business from the prompts point of view. Because the entire data, entire models, entire analytics, entire causalities have been built in there. You are going through the journey from the prompts, and the 7 prompts give you the entire understanding of my business, what has worked, what do I need to look at, what sort of are causing troubles to us, what can enhance, accelerate my business. That from a media standpoint, portfolio standpoint, width standpoint, I think that's something I think going to happen in 6 to 9 months' time. I'm already seeing part of it already happening where there are pitches happening where people are sort of not presenting anything, opening the prompt box, and everything is fed at the back to give you the consumer journey answers, to give you the effectiveness answers, to give you the growth answers, and with a fair amount of robustness and the predictability attached to it. I think that's where it is happening. In the short and long run, short term, what I really would like to see, and which is happening in a part, is that the analytics and the AI is still not reached the boardrooms as in enabling all of their decisions. It is still being used for certain things, not being used for everything. Whereas it has a capability, you invested the money on that, it could answer that, but still some areas, the sort of a usual ways of, me knowing the business going ahead, somewhere, of course, I am borrowing the capability that I have built. I would like to say it to actually nurturing that part of it. Essentially, it's the humans going to take the decision, but I think AI could be a very good enabler to the decision makers to, like a punching back to you, do your what if, what next there, and probably, enhance your decision making.
I think the previous session is really flowing into this. Now we'll have to start nurturing AI as well. Shagufta, your closing comments.
Yeah, I would say that, at the so at the C-suite, I'm like under pressure now to say everything that I have to say now. So I think, where you start with, if you say talk about AI investment and what should the company start with, is people will not think about this, but I would say, educating the C-suite. And that's what Verix is also doing, by the way. We are rolling out a few courses specifically for CMOs, CEOs to, the PepsiCo team is going to go through it very soon, where it's very important for the CEOs to now invest time in learning. It's very interesting because earlier they would be like, we know it all, and now it's like a black box. I don't know what's happening. So it's also humbling to see how willing they are to learn. So I would say start with learning, equipping your organization with, of course, ChatGPT everybody knows, but how well do you use ChatGPT? How well do you use any of the tools that your company is paying or licenses that they've taken? That's very important. The other thing is you build a stack, like especially for new organizations, whether it's HubSpot, like say for a CRM tool, then you move on and then, you build it slowly. You see what is your ability to move on. So I also feel like LLM search is extremely important, and it's going to, like, if you don't get into the space now, you're going to definitely next year regret it, like how you regretted already not using AI for marketing last year.
Yeah, Prasanna.
Yeah, in the interest of time, I'll just quickly talk about what is probably going to unfold. I think digital twins, how do I increase efficiency within my team? How do I, have digital twins who are agents, who are virtual agents who will do most of the tasks that you end up, wasting a lot of time? How do I, as a business guy, build those, agents without involving technology? I think that's something that is the future. Increasing productivity without really increasing headcounts, taking advantage of Gen AI as a technology. How do I do that? I think that's the future.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you, everyone. That was very, very interesting and engaging. Summarizing my takeaways and key points. Most of the investments are all outcome driven, right? LLM search will play a very critical role, and agentic AI is probably the way forward, looking into multiple simple and complex tasks without increasing the headcount. I'm glad you didn't say reduce. So thank you, everyone. That was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.